Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have points. And I know that publicly at some point AMG announced that there would not be new points before Worlds, but to be totally honest, I'm more glad that we actually have points than I am upset that that was not true. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and run through this real quick and just talk about the individual changes and then kind of talk a little bit about maybe why, just real quick with each. I'll try to go fairly quickly, so yeah, heads up if I gloss over some things. Super high level, what we saw is we've got points now for the Battle over Endor card pack, which is awesome. And then also we have seen some slight tweaks, kind of the top of some of the most competitive lists was shaved off, and we'll talk about those individually as we go through it. So I've got notes. I've also got both ship point stocks pulled up, but I'll go ahead and try to go fairly quickly. So first thing on the bat, there was nothing for Separatists. And then for Republic, we saw Padme lose 2 loadout. Make sure yeah, lose 2 loadout to go from 18 to 16. Same slot, same ship cost. What that really does is what was really scary about Padme is she could have her cake and eat it too, right? So the traditional loadout was proton torpedoes. Um, she could, of course, take the and get the free evade. So she had proton torpedoes, and she was also able to get. Oh God, what is the thing? Wow, blank. I'll come back to that. What is that? What is the upgrade? I gotta find this. Okay, sorry guys. I should know this. Republic, Padme. Not off to a great hard start here. So I'll just chatter while I'm doing this. Long story short, we saw the top level lists shaved off a little bit at the head, which is really good because these are lists that were dominant because they could basically do everything. They had no bad choices. So we got Padme Amidala. We have the sensor upgrade, passive sensors. That's the one. So she's only initiative 4. There are so many ships in the game that will move after her. So she could move and not have a good target lock. And if you have passive sensors, you can delay your action until you actually activate. So at initiative 4, that gave her an advantage to throw proton torpedoes at initiative 6. So that made her extremely scary to flankers and very difficult to tangle with, in addition just to being a very, very durable ship. And her ability is just completely nuts. This one here. When an enemy ship in your forward arc defends or performs an attack, that ship can modify only one focus result, which is really good, especially for being always on all the time. And she's been a really strong counter to Han lists, but also has given me a lot of trouble in other lists as well. So I'm glad that this change was made. Truth be told, though, she still has plenty of loadout, and she can, instead of going straight to proton torpedoes, she can go to plasma torpedoes and still do more or less the same thing she was able to do, but toned down just a little bit to where it's not an auto crit mod, it's not 4 dice. So I really appreciate that change personally. All right, next up we have, I believe that was the only change in Republic, and I'll go ahead and scroll through to be sure. Yeah, there we go. Then we get to Resistance, where Resistance 5 ship salads have really been making a difference. So we had Jess Pava lose 1 loadout value to go from 7 to 6. I gotta tell you, I don't know enough about Resistance. I know they're scary. I don't know what combo exactly that takes down, but I assume it's similar to Padme and some of the others we'll see on the list. Similarly, Lulo in the A-Wing up here lost 2 loadout value, going from 12 to 10. Um, in a lot of cases, these are changes made so that it encourages people to use other things in the same slot, where if the only A-Wing seeing play at all was Lulo, this kind of gives you a chance to bring out some of the other ones. Likewise for Jess. She had fairly low loadout already, so I assume it has to do with her ability. So going on, I believe she's the reroll one, if I remember correctly. Next up, Zori, a combo that I mentioned before. So she lost 2 loadout. She went from 11 to 9. And a combo we've looked at before is her ability is in arc, in her bullseye arc, defenders cannot cancel crit results. And then she uses plasma torpedoes, which have in the text, crit results are canceled before hit results. So the combo of the two is they cancel each other out. And if there was a crit result, say she has marksmanship, the opponent can't cancel any hits because they can't cancel crits first and they can't cancel hits first. So they just can't cancel either. That was a scary combo. I believe that's just enough points to where she can't take wartime and plasma torpedoes. Let me double check that. Ooh, we'll get to that. This is double check the thing. Boy, I am just not on my game tonight. Apologies for that. Da 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 da. Y-wing, Zori. Quite scary. Zori Bliss. Da, 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 da. Hmm? Is that a thing? Maybe not. Or maybe it's wartime loadout. Let me check this. So config wartime loadout, and then she may actually still be able to do this. So this may actually not change anything. So I'm glad I'm checking this. And we've got plasma torpedoes. Yeah, okay, there it is. While you perform a, it's not Zori, it's the, wow. While you perform a torpedo or missile attack, if the defender is in your bullseye, your crit results cannot be canceled by evade results. Even worse. Okay. Can't cancel your crit results. And then plasma torpedoes, crit results are canceled before hits. So that just cancels it out. So you can't actually cancel crits, which means you can't cancel anything with evade results, which is a nasty combo. And Zori being initiative 5, and then also having an ability where after ship at range 1 performs an action during its perform action step. If that action is on your action bar, you may spend 1 charge, and she's got 1 recurring, to perform that action, treating it as red. So she was really easily able to double mod those, probably also take marksmanship, and then very easily guarantee an uncancelable hit. So I get why they dropped her loadout a little bit, but changing it to 9 still allows her to do that. It just means she can't then also bring basically any astromech or any tech upgrade. So there's nothing else she could do to add to, well, she can't take. Yeah. So you can do that, but she loses the turret. Ooh, interesting. So I think before she could also take the dorsal turret, but now she can't. So it just trims that a little bit, but the combo's still there. So that's still a scary piece. Okay, glad I checked that. Sorry for the tangent. Then we're going to keep on going. So that is all for resistance. No changes at all for first order and scum. Then we go to rebels and empire. Brace yourselves, y'all. This is going to be a long one, but I know it better, so I'll be a little bit quicker on these. Skipping through scum, scum. And the thing about scum, first order, and separatist being missed is not a bad thing, because the absolute top performing lists are the ones that got dinged, which opens up the space for the B tier list to have their moment in the sun. So a lot of the things that got dialed down should very dramatically open space for the things that are doing okay to pop up a bit. All right, so first we're going to see our first battle over Endor rules. We've got the X-Wing Yendor is 5 points. Wedge X-Wing is 5 points as well, tying with the other versions of Wedge, of which there are 4. Wow, all right. And then Kendi is a new X-Wing T-70, 4 points for the standard loadout. And then we've got Tycho, the new A-Wing is 4. Then we've got Kyo Kyo got dinged here. Kyo lost 1 loadout value to go from 8 to 7, which means that she can't take proton rockets anymore, which I get. Kyo is the most taken A-Wing and possibly in the meta. Kind of gives you everything as a really good objective grabber. Having her also have a, 5-die gun was a little bit over the top, and I get dialing that back a little bit so that she's not quite as obvious of a choice, and people will experiment more with the other 3-point A-Wings, which we haven't seen much anyway. I personally absolutely love running Wedge in the A-Wing. That thing is a little monster. Yeah, I'd like to see him get a loadout bump, but that's fine. Keeping up, we have Gemmer Sojin, which is one of the ones we haven't seen revealed or leaked, but it has a cannon slot, and that comes in at 3 points. I'm very excited about that one. Really good defensive ability on top of having the cannon at the 3-point slot. I'm very excited to see what's in that one. Then we've got the Arvol standard loadout now. Another one is going to be 4 points. And then we've got the Lando standard loadout is 7, which I'm really pumped about. I was worried that might be 8. If it was 6, it would be too good. I'm glad it ties with the other Falcons, so that's great. And then the big change, probably the biggest one we've seen in this, is that Han Solo's loadout was dropped by 5 points, went from 20 to 15. And the reason for this, we've talked about this before, where you could take Perceptive Copilot and Bista and Gunner, both of which together are 8, or they're 8 points, so together they were 16. So they dialed them down by 5 points of loadout to be 1 point below where you couldn't take just that. And this is a really healthy change for the game, right? Because long story short, Han still works the same way. You can still take Bist and Gunner and have another 7 points of loadout to play with to do a lot with. You really want to do the multi-focus combo, you can take Baze Malbus and be a little bit riskier, but still guarantee those focuses, especially in turns when you're bumping, and then actually even get more. And that's 5 points for Baze instead of the 8 for Perceptive Copilot. So that's an option. But also one thing I appreciate about this in terms of just being healthy for the game is with more than 16 loadout, with Han's ability to automatically reroll on top of Perceptive Copilot and Biston, you just had this combo that there was no reason to try anything else. It's like, I start Han, I start Biston, I start Perceptive Copilot, go from there. There's basically no reason to experiment. And so this, you still take Biston Gunner, sure, still the combo still works, but then you now, instead of having, 4 points to play with, now you have 7 points to play with because you can't even consider Perceptive Copilot. So it actually opens that up to be much more flexible and creative in terms of building until we find the next broken combo. And I'll kind of talk about my builds for that too, because I'm still flying Han in practice games, and I'm not going to give up on him immediately because of this ding. Yeah, so I kind of like it. A couple quick notes on that. one of the biggest things that this does is because he's not guaranteed to have two focus tokens, it makes him vulnerable to jam. Whereas in the past, if you had two focus tokens, you jam one off, the combo still works. But now if you remove his single focus token, he does not get his second shot, which is something that there was no counterplay before, and now there is, which is awesome. It also makes him just a hair less reliable on offense, not a ton, but enough that it'll be noticeable. Um, One thing that I really appreciate though is that when I'm flying Han, I'll throw it at the three dice first shot, right? And I get hit, eyeball, blank. And you have to sort of wrestle with it for a moment. Do I spend one of my focus tokens on this, or do I reroll the whole thing? Now I won't even think about it. It'll be like, all right, reroll the whole thing and keep the focus to get your bonus shot with that piston gunner. So I appreciate that that will help me play more quickly. So I like that. It's nice. So there's counterplay, and then also the combo still works. It doesn't take away Han. He's still as good as he was with some actual options to counter him. I think this was a really, really healthy way to make that change, and it's good that the broken combo included one card that was 8 points, or two cards that were 8 points, so it was pretty easy to kind of trim down below that number without breaking everything completely. So that's good. For me, just to go ahead and go on that tangent, I am experimenting with Han Solo flying with swarm tactics and the 4-point quick build of, oh god, what's his name? Jump down here, I'll see it. Garvin. Garvin Dries. And Garvin reads that when he spends a focus token, he can then give a focus token to another friendly ship at range 0 to 3. You fly him close to Han, and you swarm tactics him up. He shoots first at initiative 6, assume he spends the focus token, gives it to Han. Han suddenly has his double focus token anyway. And what that does if you fly it well is you go from 2 3-die shots at initiative 6 instead is now 3 3-die shots at initiative 6, and he still has the same terrible double focus thing, and that also makes him jam resistant. So that is kind of the way you can kind of build this around, but it requires 2 ships and some combo work. It doesn't just happen every time. So happy about that. But next up we have Fen Rao and the Fang Fighter. Loadout went from 10 to 9. So now if you do your 2 3-point Mandalorian upgrades, you can't then also get both Fearless and Clan Training. You have to pick one and play around with it. So I wasn't seeing Fen Rao played in the Fang very much for a while, but I know he's been out there, and I kind of appreciate that shaving because he had more points than he needed to play with. And being a 5-point I6 Fang fighter, I don't believe in him, but I've seen him do some very dramatic things, so yeah, it's good to have that. Bodic also has been seeing a ton of play and having really high loadout despite having a really powerful ability, so shaved from 9 loadout value to 7. So now can no longer do the Fearless plus the 2 Mando upgrades that you were seeing sometimes. I think it was, what is it? Optics. I think a good combo was Optics, Predator, and then also Beskar. So the nasty combo to give you a mod on both attacks if you had targets in bullseye. So yeah, little shave there. I'm going to keep right on cruising to go look at the new standard loadouts. These are all Battle over Endor standard loadouts. Gina Moonsong, the standard loadout coming in at 5, which is interesting. She's still in Initiative 5 B-Wing. I have not gotten a good look at that card, so I don't know, but that puts her 1 point over her customizable version, but I'm curious to see what's in that. Opposite here, we have Braylon Strom quick build coming in at 4, so we'll have 2 4-point B-Wings, which does definitely open up some of your, I guess you had a couple others before, but Braylon quick build is very frightening, so that is good to have that option. That's cool. I like to see that. A Dawn Fox, which I haven't seen at all, don't even know who that is, comes in at 5. And I believe that's the last of the Rebel changes, and then we get to Empire. So we're going to start at the bottom here. So we're going to see several of the bombers, and this is a whole mess of bombers. So Gamma Squadron Ace is new. No, okay. We go through here again. So Battle over Endor, Scimitar 3 and Scimitar 1 are both 4 points, coming in a little bit higher than the base bombers. So we'll have to take a look at that. And then all these others, so Gamma Squadron Ace, Tomax Bren, and then Major Rhymer, all saw a drop in loadout value. And the reason for it is a lot of these guys were running the combination of barrage rockets and saturation salvo. The reason being that barrage rockets basically turns the ship from a 2-die gun into a 3-die gun, and all you have to do is have a focus token to shoot it. And then it's ordnance, so it's a 3-die gun that denies the defensive range bonus. It gives you the option to do additional rerolls, and I think you can throw extra attack dice. And then also saturation salvo lets you spend the massive amount of charges on that card to modify your opponent's defense dice. It was a really, really nasty combo, and it's one of those combos that just did everything, and it was so good that there was no reason to take anything else on these. So in most cases, they either can't take barrage rockets anymore or can only take barrage rockets, not the combination of pieces they had before. Let me jump on that real quick and check the cost. So we're looking at Major Rhymer as a bomber. Your Major Rhymer, 3 and 7. And so we're looking at the missile upgrade, and it took 2 slots. Barrage rockets is 6, and then saturation salvo is 2. So he's 1.2 low, so you would need 8 points minimum to do saturation salvo. So looking at this, the Gamma Squadron Ace can still do it, but does not have the missile slot. So that was not impacted. But both Rhymer and Tomax went down to 7. Those are big drops, but just to give you, I am sad about that. So this is a change that I don't feel is as healthy as Han's, because these are ships that live and die by their loadout value, and they have missile slots. So as long as you keep them below 12, where they're not throwing proton torpedoes, or they're not throwing too many proximity mines. Like, there are a lot of risky upgrades you can put on here, but I think the problem in this case was the barrage rockets, not necessarily the ships. So I'm not as happy about those as I am about the Han changes, but they're still flyable, right? And there's still other stuff out there. So moving right along, we're going to go to the Scythe. We're going to look at actual TIE fighters, and this is a funny one. So these are brand new, basic, plain old line TIE fighters. We've got Scythe coming in at 3 points. It's always weird to see a 3-point TIE fighter. It's weirder to see a 4-point TIE fighter. So Major Mionda is 4 points. Lieutenant Hebsley is 3. And those are the quick builds coming in from Battle over Endor. Sunter Fell is coming in at 5. I'm going to look at this card in a minute because that is a terrifying ship. I actually half expected him to come in a point higher than the base one. I'm kind of glad to see him tied with it. So there's an actual decision of, like, do I take my custom build or do I take the quick build? But at the same time, it's going to be a very, very frightening ship very quickly. Then we have Sapphire 2, also TIE Interceptor, coming in at 4 points. A 4-point TIE Interceptor is a very scary piece. We still only have one 3-point TIE Interceptor, which is pretty good. But these quick build interceptors have a lot more toys than you see on most TIE Interceptors, so they are no joke. Yeah, Sunter Fell scares me already, but the Battle of Endor one, and we'll look at that card in a second. Very scary. Now I've got Maus Monare coming in at 5 points on the TIE Interceptor. That's a tall order. The only 5-point TIE Interceptor I really see seeing play at all is Sunter Fell. I'm curious to see that card to see what it is that brings to bring the 5-point value. Ooh, and here's where it gets spicy. We've got Colonel Jendon in the TIE Defender at 7, and then we have Captain Yor at 6. We now have a 6-point TIE Defender, which reopens the door to bring triple defenders. You do 2 7-pointers and a 6, and you have a 20-point squad. That's something that people have always been terrified of since it first came out way, way back, and then was quickly nerfed, and then now they're in many ways more dangerous than they ever were, but in a meta that's better able to deal with them than ever before. So I'm curious to see how that does. We are definitely going to see some triple defender lists coming into Worlds, so that's something to watch out for. I would definitely say practice that and practice against it, just in case. And then we saw Feroff get a -1 loadout value to go from 6 loadout value to 5. And one of the big things there is there was a combo that was 000 plus something, and I'm not totally clear what the something was, but it's a real nasty combo. And to not, now I can take 000, but only 000, if I remember correctly. You double check that. We're looking at Captain Feroff, and 000 is 5 points. Yeah. Yeah, so you can still take 000, but if you do, you get nothing else, which is probably good, because you could take, I think 000 and Ruthless is one of the things you could take. Yeah, I believe that was, I'm not totally sure what the combo was, but I know 000 plus something else is very scary with Feroff, so that was a reason to shave it down. So you can still do it, but you can't do anything else along with it. And that is the end of the changes. Already kind of covered where some of these are going to be significant, but let me go ahead and look at some of the cards. So this is that quick build Sunterfell that's coming in at 5 points. This thing scares the heck out of me. So after you perform an attack, you may spend 1 and gain 1 deplete token to boost your barrel roll. This is an Initiative 6 TIE Fighter that can shoot and then dodge out of the way. That is bananas by itself. Excuse me, it's an Initiative 6 TIE Interceptor. It's even scarier. Then you've got the sensitive controls, so you can do the system phase reposition. I believe that is the change. So that's the config you can take, not kind of the stock interceptor ability, if I recall correctly. Then we got Apex Predator. While you perform a primary attack, if the defender's initiative is lower than yours, you may reroll 1 attack die. So just built-in reroll even outside of Bullseye, so it's better than Predator, because he's an Apex Predator. Haha, I see what you did there. No escape while you perform a primary attack if there are more friendly ships than other enemy ships at range 0 to 1 of the defender. So if they're clustered up, you may reroll one of your blanks. So that's 2 dice you can reroll on every single attack already under some conditions, but those are going to come up a lot. Then you've got blank signature, which is recharge. It's a 1 charge recurring. While defending, if you're not locked by the attacker, you may spend 1 charge to change 1 eyeball up to an evade. So a free evade every single turn. Um, that's a big incentive to carry some jam in your list to make sure you're removing those target locks to keep them alive. But and then, feedback emitter. Illicit on this thing. After an object acquires a lock on you, you may spend 1 charge to jam that object, ignoring range restrictions. This upgrades charges cannot be recovered. I don't see how you would recover them, but still, it's good to have that disclaimer in there for future. So you have an automatic way, at least once per game, to choose to activate your blank signature against an especially nasty shot. This ship is perfect. It's not totally twice per game. Excuse me. There are 2 charges on feet. Wait. No, here. Oh, I see. Okay, so the reroll maneuver after shooting is 2 charges. You can only do that twice per game. Okay, so that's the thing too. I love this design where you have this super powerful like punch and then dodge, but only twice per game. This feedback emitter is insanely powerful, but once per game. The blank signature is still going to come up mid game, and it's going to make this like people will have to lock Soontir to hit him. Otherwise, that blank signature is going to save him quite a bit of damage. And then the double mod on offense, like this is the TIE Interceptor I've dreamed about forever. So this is beautiful. Then we got Sapphire 2. I think this is the only one. There's Sapphire 2 and Sapphire 3. No, just Sapphire 2. Okay, this is the other TIE Interceptor. While you defend, if you are focused, roll 1 additional defense die. Big initiative 1. That's going to be great. This is one you want to jam to get rid of it. Has that sensitive controls again. Has no escape as well, but then has reckless. While you perform a red boost or a red barrel roll action, you may use so it has built-in Daredevil, but better because you can also use it on barrel rolls. If you do, though, it may be... Ooh, okay. But there's a chance, if you roll an attack die and hit a crit, you gain a second stress token. So you get a double red, but it's a really powerful reposition. And you can do that in the system phase. So you can clear at least one of those. Yeah, because system phase, you may perform a red. Yes, okay. Yeah, wow. So reckless, of course, you can risk doing getting double stress to do a really crazy maneuver, which is what I love to see in a TIE Interceptor, especially in Initiative 1. Give the Initiative 1 some fancy tricks. And this one also came in at 4 points, which this is one that probably could have been a 3-point, but yeah. Primed thrusters. Ooh, okay. Here's the follow-up. While you have 2 or fewer stress tokens, you can perform boost or barrel roll and boost actions even while stressed. There's the balance to your reckless. But note that reckless will turn off your base chassis ability while you defend if you are focused, unless you're able to get focus tokens some other way. Targeting matrix. While attacking, you may spend 1 eyeball result at the end of the neutralize result step. If you do, after the attack is resolved, the defender gains a strain token. So you got a free Notorious, which, yikes, and it's arc independent. So this is a ship you don't want to shoot at, but you have to shoot at, but I really like this one. This is another well-designed ship that's totally different from Soontir, even though they're both TIE Interceptors. And I really like that that's one thing I really enjoy about the standard loadout cards is that each one is so unique. Talked at length about Lando. I'm still very excited that this guy is 7 points to tie with Han. I probably will use this instead of Han because it has so many different utility pieces in addition to Han's abilities. But we'll see if I can get more utility out of Han's double attacks still. Yeah, because this does have double attacks as well, but not quite Han's. So, yeah. Colonel Jendon, and this one is not, this is the 7-point one. Okay, which is good, because this one is terrifying. While you defend, if you are not shielded, you can change one of your blanks to a focus result or an eyeball result. Yeah, so if you have focus tokens, you get a bonus on defense. But this is one you could take in a triple defender list. Has proton cannons, which combos with where is it? There's a thing here that lets you. Yeah, there it is. Chiss engineering. After you fully execute a speed 3 to 5 maneuver, you may perform a target lock action while attacking if you are not stressed, which you won't be because you do white K turns. Or even if it's not a K turn. If you are not stressed, you may spend 1 shield to apply the range 1 bonus. So you can throw 4 dice up to range 3 with a target lock after performing a fast maneuver. So, yeah, that's real nasty. And he can only do it until he spends down his shields. It's a very aggressive spending your shields to do that. But whew. And he's also got push the limit. So let's see, after you fully execute a red maneuver or red action, So if he does evade barrel roll, you may gain one stress. Wow, one strain to remove one stress token. This thing is a monster and a maneuverable monster. Like this is the thing that TIE defenders have kind of been missing is they don't have that push the limit. They have never had the level of maneuverability in 2.0 that they have had in that they did in 1.0 that makes them a real mess. This guy scares the crap out of me. And then he has a single charge computer assisted handling. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may spend one charge to perform a boost or barrel roll action. Which, wow. So let's kind of read that out, right? So he does a 4K, gets the target lock action, and then can do a boost or a barrel roll action, and then could proton cannons or could spend a shield to shoot 4 dice anyway. Um, and then you have pushed the limit, so he could do a red maneuver, push the limit to take a strain to remove the stress, and then do computer assisted handling and all this chiss engineering craziness. Um, yeah, this guy's scary. And initiative 6, an initiative 6 7-point TIE defender. You're going to see this guy in play. And we got Tycho. Now, I've been flying a lot of Tycho custom build, and I really, really like his ability combined with heavy laser cannon. This one doesn't have his ability to still act while stressed, and also does not have VHLC. What it does have is while you're disarmed, you can still perform missile attacks, and he has proton rockets over there. When you perform a missile attack while disarmed, roll a maximum of 4 dice. So it's range 1 to 2 in bullseye, but he's initiative 5, and can usually line that up. And he does have vectored cannons, so he can shoot the turret at the back. And he does have a focus to linked reroll or reload action, so he can focus. So he can, in any given turn, if he does not start stressed, he can focus to reload and then shoot a 4-die proton rocket because he'll get the focus and the reload to get the charge back, even with the disarm token. So there's a lot going on there. I like this. And one of the things I really like about this is with the Tycho, you can do actions while stressed Tycho, I end up stressed all the time, so he never does red maneuvers, which is tough on an A-Wing. You want to get those maneuvers and use those things to really pop around. So I'm going to try this, but I'm pretty attached to my custom build right now, so we'll see how this goes. Although he's got juke, yikes, and he also has chaff particles. While defending, you may spend one eyeball result at the end of the neutralized results step to remove one red or orange token. So remove disarms. Yeah, so if you're shot by an I-6, you can remove your disarm and then throw a 5-die proton rocket. So there's a huge incentive to not shoot at you if you have your proton rockets active and a focus token. Yeah, that's really good. That may turn the thing for me. That chaff particles ability may be exactly what I need to change this around. He also has that boost link to evade, and again has that focus link to reload. Otherwise, this is similar to an A-Wing. I believe he also has an extra shield. Yes, he does. Okay. All right. I talked myself into it. I'll try this guy. It seems good. And then we're seeing that a lot on some of these quick builds where they're the same cost as the custom loadouts. They have powerful abilities with downsides, but then they also just have better base stats on some levels. So like the linked actions and the extra shield are huge on an A-Wing. And that was it. So those are the ones that I have from the previews. This has been longer than I intended already. Hopefully this is helpful, but yeah, new points. These points are certainly early enough to still be current for Worlds and have thrown the meta completely, completely thrown us all off completely. So yeah. Yeah, cheers. Let me know if I missed anything or if you have any questions.